Do you ever see a car collection online and wonder, how the do these guys afford these cars? Well, I do. So today we are covering the four largest privately held car collections in the world, the cars in the collection, and how they made the money to actually afford it. Enough with the intro, let's get into the collections. At number 5, the Fonch Racing Collection, owned by French billionaire Francois Pedero, who made his fortune in the oil and gas industry. More specifically, the company Perenco, which is a multinational oil and gas company founded by his father. And his family's conservative net worth is estimated to be around $10 billion, which will definitely buy you some cars. But he's also a racing driver himself with 4 WEC victories and 2 24 Hours of Le Mans victories. And as you'll see in his collection, it's not just supercars and hypercars, but some of the most sought after race cars on the planet. So let's dive into the collection. He has an Aston Martin Valkyrie, a Valkyrie Spider, an Audi R8 LMP, a 1 of 67 BMW M3 CRT, a Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport, a Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse, for the ball knowers out there, a Dallara Stradale, a Ferrari F301B, an F430 GTC, a 458 Italia GTE, a 575 GTC, a 48 Pista Piloti, which is reserved for Ferrari racing drivers, whether you're a Formula One driver or a customer racing driver, a Daytona SP3, an A12 Competizione Aperta, a 412P, a 250 GTL Berlinetta, a 365 GTS4, an F40, an F40 LM, a 275 GTS, a 275 GTB Competizione Series 2, a 250 GT SWB California Spider, a 550 Barchetta Pininfarina, a 250 GT SWB Berlinetta Competizione, a Monza SP2, a 288 GTO, a Super America Aperta, an F50, a LaFerrari, a 499P Modificata, which is a track-only hypercar for customers based off the Le Mans winning car. Pretty sick. And the most expensive Ferrari and car in his collection is this beautifully spec'd Ferrari 250 GTO, which he bought for $56.4 million. He also has a Lamborghini Diablo VT 6.0 SE, a Maserati MC12 GT1, a normal MC12, and to match the MC12, an MC20 Icona with a livery tribute. Now onto his McLarens with a pretty insane group. He has an F1 car, specifically the MP4-24, driven by Lewis Hamilton in victories in both Australia and Monaco. A McLaren F1, an F1 GTR, another F1 GTR, and another F1 GTR, this one being road legal. And I could be wrong, but I think this is one of 2 that's been converted by Lazzante to be road legal. A little story time here. One day he was driving this car, went to the gas station, and accidentally filled it up with diesel, requiring mechanics from McLaren to come down and spend a bunch of time getting it out and fixing the car. Pretty ironic with him being in the oil and gas industry that he filled up his car with diesel, but happens. Not to me, though. He also has a pretty solid Porsche collection with a 911 ST, an original 911 ST, a 997 GT3 RSR, a 996 GT3 RS, a 964 Speedster, a 991 Speedster, a Carrera RSR 2.8, a 917K. I misspoke. This is the 917K owned by Count Rossi himself, and it was the only road legal 917 in the world until 2016, where a Monaco resident also converted one. And he paid 36 million euros for it. He also has a 911 GT1, a 993 GT2, another 993 GT2, a 997 GT3 RS 4.0, a Carrera GT, another Carrera GT, and a 918 Spider. And I will admit, I've actually never heard of these before, but he has 2 ProDrive 550 Maranello GTSs. And lastly, a Toyota GT1. But we're not stopping there. I'm also going over the cars that he has previously owned and sold, like the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GTE, the DBR9, Vantage GT8, a Bugatti 110, a dour Bugatti EB110, which is one of just 4 in the world, a Ferrari 333 SP, a 250 GT SWB California Spider, which in my opinion is one of the most beautiful cars of all time, a 250 GT SWB Berlinetta, an Enzo, a 599 GTO, an F12 TDF, a 4 GT, this insanely clean Lexus LFA Nürburgring edition, another Maserati MC12, another McLaren F1, a Senna, a 675 LT, a P1, a Mercedes SLS AMG Black Series, a Porsche 993 911 Carrera RS, a Porsche RS Spider Evo, a Porsche 910, a 959, a 997 GT2 RS, a 997 GT3 RS 4.0, another Carrera GT, another 918 Spider, and lastly, a Singer 911. Utterly insane collection, and we still have 3 more to go. Next up, the Lee Collection, which is located mainly in Australia and London. The Lee Collection is owned by Australian billionaire Lawrence Escalante, who founded Virtual Gaming Worlds, which is a mobile sweepstakes company, and it took off big time during COVID, which allowed him the funds to be able to buy his cars, and a lot of them. So for the most part, every car in this collection has been purchased in the last 5 years, which is something to think about as we go over the list. He has one of the cars that I wish was in the United States the most, the Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA, an Aston Martin Valor, the utterly insane Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR Pro, a DBS 770 Ultimate, another DBS 770 Ultimate, a V12 Vantage, another V12 Vantage, this one being a Roadster, a Vantage AMR, and to wrap up the Aston Martins, a V12 Speedster. He also has an insane Bugatti collection with a Veyron Supersport, a Chiron Supersport, this one being one of the cleanest I've ever seen with tan interior and black exterior. Another Chiron Supersport, this one being a one-off spec from Bugatti's Sur Mesure program. I probably mispronounced that, sorry. And his last Bugatti, the insane Bugatti Bolide. Moving on to Ferrari, he has a 348 Challenge, an F512M, a Roma Inspirazione 2020 edition, an A12 GTS Inspirazione 2020 edition, another A12 GTS Inspirazione 2020 edition, a 48 Pista Spider, a 48 Pista Piloti, an A12 Competizione, a Super America Aperta, a 458 Speciale, a LaFerrari, an SF90XX Spider, and the ridiculous track-only FXXK. He also has a Ford GT and a pretty solid Lambo collection with the Huracan Performante Spider, the Huracan STO 60th Anniversary Edition, the Huracan Tecnia 50th Anniversary Edition, the Huracan Storado, a Urus Performante Essenza SCV12, a Murcielago Roadster, an Aventador Ultime Roadster, an SVJ Roadster, a Countach LP800-4, a Sion, and lastly, the track-only Essenza SCV12. Moving on to McLaren with a 750S 60th Anniversary Edition, a 765 LT Spider, another 765 LT, an MSO HS, a 620R, a 720S GT3X, an Elva, another Elva, a Senna, another Senna GTR P1, and a P1 GTR. From Mercedes, he has an AMG GTR Pro, an AMG GT Black Series, an AMG GT Track Series, an SLR McLaren, and another SLR McLaren. He has one Pagani with a Huayra. Then moving on to his Porsche collection, he has a 991 Speedster, a 997 GT 2RS, a Carrera GT, another Carrera GT, and a Gambala Mirage GT, and a Porsche 918 Spider, and a Roof RTR. To wrap up his collection, he has a Rolls-Royce Wraith Mansory Kryptos edition, which might be the cleanest Mansory kit I've ever seen. Another cool thing about this collection is that he has not sold a single car. And I know for a fact this is not every car in the collection. I watched a video recently and he said they have 150 cars, but I'm only going based off what I could find on ECR. Next up, the Lowe collection owned by Friedhelm Lowe, which has about 130 cars. So I'm just going to highlight some of the coolest ones. He's the owner of the Friedhelm Lowe Group and took the company over from his father, then expanded it into a multinational conglomerate with multiple companies. They specialize in industrial infrastructure, IT, software, manufacturing, automation, AI, and more. His companies largely serve industries like power, energy, telecommunications, automotive, and manufacturing industries across the globe. So now for his collection, which for the ball knowers out there, you know that his collection is actually a museum that you can visit in Germany, and I want to go. He has an Alfa Romeo 155 2.5 V6 Ti, an Alpina V8 Roadster, an Aston Martin DBRS 9, an Aston Martin DB4 GT, a DB4 GT Zagato, an Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, an Audi R8 LMP, a Bentley EXP Speed 8, a BMW M1 Pro Car, a Brabus Crawler, a ton of old Bugattis with a Type 35, two Type 43s, a Type 50, Type 55, two Type 57Ss, a 57SC, a 57C, and a Type 59. Which alone is probably worth over $100 million. He also has a Bugatti EB110 SS, a Bugatti Veyron, a Veyron Supersport, a Chrysler Viper GTSR, and multiple Ferrari F1 cars with the 312B2, 312B3, 512F1, F1 2000, F2004, and F2007. Again, that alone is worth so much money. He also has a ton of Ferraris with a 599 GTO, two 512 BBs, an F50, a 365 GTC4, a 365 GTB4, a 365 GTB4 Competizione Series 3, a 250 Pininfarina Berlinetta, two 250 GTO SWB Berlinetta Competiciones, a 250 GT Pininfarina Cabriolet Series 2, a 250 GTL, a 250 GT SWB Coupe Aerodynamico, a 250 GT Pininfarina Superfast Speciale, a 246 SP, a 330 P3, a 330P, a 250S, a 212 Inter, a Monza SP1, an F12, a 288 GTO, an Enzo, a LaFerrari, and would it be complete without an F40? He also owns one of Ferrari's biggest ops, a Ford GT40, as well as a Ford GT40 prototype and a Ford GT Heritage Edition. He only has a few Lambos with the 350 GT, a Countach, and a Mura SV. From Lancia, he has a Stratos and a Delta S4. From Maserati, he has a 250F, two A6G 54Ss, one being a coupe and one being a roadster, as well as a 300S. From McLaren, he only has F1 cars with the M23, MP4/5, and MP4/14. He has another F1 car from Mercedes with the AMG F1 W03, as well as an AMG GT Black Series with an AMG 1 to match it. He has four 300SL Gullwings and one 300SL Roadster, two CLK GTRs, one being a Roadster, a CLR, one of my all-time favorite sedans, a 190e Evo 2, a Sauber C9, an SLR McLaren 755 GT, and an SLR McLaren Sterling Moss. From Maybach, he has the Zeppelin and the one-off commission Accelero. From Porsche, he has a 356A 1500 Carrera Speedster, an original 911 ST, a 911 Carrera RSR 3.8, a 904 Carrera GTS, a 550A Spider, a 956, a 917K, and a 959. He also has a Shelby Cobra Mark II, a Toyota 2000 GT, and a car I admit I've never heard of before this, a Tyrrell 012. Now onto cars that they have previously owned and sold. And some of these are insanely rare. The Mercedes W196, the Mercedes 540K, another 300SL, and a ton of Ferraris with a 212 Inter, two 250 GTO Elena Coupes, a 250 GT Interim Berlinetta, a 250 GT SWB Berlinetta, a 250 GT LMB Berlinetta Series 2, a 250 GT SWB California Spider, a 275 GTB4, two 365 GTS4s, a 250 GT Pininfarina Cabriolet Series 1, a 330 LMB, and lastly a Ferrari 410 Sport Scaglietti Spider. Pretty insane collection. If you're ever in Germany, make sure to check out the Low Collection Museum as you can see all of these cars for yourself. Last up, the most infamous car collection in the world, which is owned by the Brunei royal family and the Sultan of Brunei, which consists of over 7,000 cars and an estimated value of $5 billion. It has the most one-offs out of any collection in the entire world, estimated to be over 50 one-off commissions. And a little backstory behind this collection, it was actually mostly the Sultan's brother Jeffrey who bought most of the cars. Although the Sultan did buy a lot of the cars too. It was a joint collection. Jeffrey purchased the majority of the cars in the 90s and early 2000s, but then had his assets frozen for misappropriation of funds, where it was revealed that he had embezzled billions upon billions of dollars from the company's wealth fund. So some of the most legendary and expensive cars in the world were sitting in some humid jungle storage facility for years on end. That was until last year, where a bunch of photos got leaked and people could finally see what was actually in the collection. And although these photos did not contain the entire 7,000 cars in the collection, they did get pretty much all the important ones, so I'm going to cover those. And the Sultan of Brunei and his family made a lot of their money through natural oil and gas reserves, specifically a lot of offshore drilling for gas in Brunei's waters. But they also have a huge investment fund, which is what Prince Jeffrey stole the money from, that invests in things all around the world. And they've made a lot of money from both of these things. So these are some of the coolest cars out of the 7,000 in the collection. And most people think it's entirely cars from the 90s and early 2000s, but the Sultan himself actually has a LaFerrari. They also had 5 Ferrari F50s. I'll flash each one of them here for a second. They had 17 variations of the Ferrari 456. 17 of one car is ridiculous. They had 6 Ferrari FXs, which were all bespoke and commissioned just for them. They had 3 288 GTOs, Another one of their bespoke creation with 3 Ferrari Mythoses, 7 Ferrari F40s, an F40 LM, 5 fully bespoke commissioned Ferrari F90s, a 288 GTO Evoluzione, and a ton of other Ferraris. Now on to McLaren, and brace yourselves, with a McLaren F1, another McLaren F1, a McLaren F1 LM, a McLaren F1 GT, a McLaren F1 GTR, and those 6 cars alone are worth about $120 million. From Bugatti, they had at least 3 EB110s, 1 Pagani with a Huayra, a Lexus LFA. From Porsche, they had 5 959s, 5 Dower 962 Le Mans, which is utterly insane, a Rinspeed 969, a 964 911 Turbo S slant nose. From Mercedes, they had a 300 SL Gullwing, a 300 SL Roadster, and an SL65 AMG Black Series. One of the rarest BMWs of all time, the Nazca M12, which I think they had 2 of. A car most people have only seen in Forza, the Mossler MT900. From Lamborghini, they had 14 Countaches, 14, a Lamborghini Murcielago, and a Lamborghini Huracan. They didn't have many American cars, but they did have 3 Callaway Camaros, as well as 380 Bentleys. 380. And again, this was just a fraction of the collection. Now on to some insane cars that they have owned and sold. With a Ferrari F310 F1 car, a 458 Speciale, 3 more F40s, another F40 LM, a 250 LM, 2 more LaFerraris, an F12 TDF, 3 more Enzos, 4 more F50s, 2 more 288 GTOs, 2 Maserati MC12s, 3 Diablos, 5 Countaches, 9 Porsche 911 964 Turbos, 9 Jaguar XJ220s, a Jaguar XJ220C LM, 2 959s, a Williams FW08, another 300 SL, a McLaren P1, 2 Mercedes-Benz CLK GTRs, 3 more McLaren F1s, and another F1 LM. So even the cars that they've sold just in the past few years would be an absurd collection in and of itself. So those are the 4 largest privately held car collections in the world, according to ECR. I know I probably missed some stuff. If I missed something, please let me know in the comments and drop which collection was your favorite. I appreciate each and every one of you for sticking around to this point. Please like and subscribe. See you in the next one.